Hello YouTube, so today I want to talk about truth, specifically objective truth and subjective truth. But first, some definitions. Objective truth is basically truth that does not change however much I may believe to the contrary. For example, however much I may believe that the sun revolves around the earth, it does not change the fact that the earth revolves around the sun. I cannot change that however much I believe it. That is objective truth. Truth that exists no matter what I may believe. Subjective truth, on the other hand, is completely different. I'm sure most of you would agree that the shirt that I am currently wearing is purple. However, the hue of purple that I may perceive, is it the same hue of purple that you may perceive? Or how about colorblind people? Are they even seeing the purple shirt that I am wearing? That is subjective truth. Truth which is affected by how you perceive the world, how you perceive reality, and even by your own biases and assumptions. Now, it may be pretty clear how objective truth and subjective truth are pretty different. And you may have heard objective truth used in science and subjective truth talked about when people are perceiving reality. But I want to argue that objective truth and subjective truth are constantly interacting with each other in ways that you might not even imagine. The easiest way to see this is in the human sciences, psychology, social science, etc., because you are inherently dealing with people who are subjective. The easiest way to look at this is between a specialist doctor and a specialist psychologist. Say the doctor is a specialist in heart surgery, and somebody comes in with a heart condition. The doctor looks at them, tells them what heart condition they have, and then performs surgery on them. That heart condition may be the same as one he treated a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and he would treat every single one the same way with the same type of surgery. For a psychologist, say somebody comes into the clinic and reports feelings of anxiety or depression. A psychologist can't treat that the same way they treated a person who may have had anxiety or depression a week ago, because that person's subjective experience is different. The causes behind it are what's important, rather than what condition or whatever they may have. For a doctor, they just treat the illness and the person's cured and they're fine. For a psychologist, it is very, very different, where objective truth and subjective truth are constantly crossing over. The objective truth is that that person may have that disorder, but the subjective truth is how they are experiencing that disorder, what symptoms they may have behind it, what caused the disorder in the first place. And the psychologists have to look at all of these and understand the subjective truth so they can treat what is objectively happening to the person. And you may think, well, that's all fine, that's psychologist's job. And you might not think that this crosses over into the world of science, where objectivity is straightforward. But I wish to argue that it does. Maybe not so in chemistry and physics, where objective answers are pretty clean cut. If you have chemical X and chemical Y and you put them together, 100% of the time you'll get chemical Z. That's an objective way of understanding chemistry and physics. And yes, objective truth exists straightforwardly like that. But say you have 3 different experimenters. Experimenter A, experimenter B, experimenter C. And they all independently do the same experiment. However, experimenter A is looking for cause X. Experimenter B is looking for cause Y. Experimenter C is looking for cause Z. Experimenter A runs the experiment and does not find cause X. Experimenter B finds that the experiment doesn't hold up conclusion Y. Experimenter C, however, comes in, he performs exactly the same experiment independently and gets the conclusion he was looking for, because he is interpreting the data in a different way. And that is how subjective truth affects objective truth. Objectively, there may be only ever one answer to every math problem or every experiment ever done. There may be that objective truth out there, but we are constantly interpreting it with our subjective minds. When scientists do experiments, they look at the data, but they have an inherent bias in the back of their heads. Even if they say they don't, there's still that little inherent bias. And you can see this in peer-reviewed papers. For example, say you have 10 different scientists, and they get different journal articles to read over and make comments on them and then return them and say what they think about them. That's how peer-reviewed journals work. And an article gets sent out to, say, 10, 20 different respected people of their field. They'll look over it, they'll put back their opinions and put it back in. But if the data they're presented with goes slightly against what they may inherently believe, they're going to look at that data differently. And they might not even know they're doing this. Even though they may be trained not to do this, there's still that inherent bias. And we can't escape it. We are subjective people, and when we try and look for that objective truth, we're constantly battling against our own biases and assumptions and ideas and perception of reality. What is truth? Can you ever find it through different experiments, different examinations? Or are you constantly going to get objective truth wrong? Are we getting things wrong because we can't see across our own subjective truths that we believe? Is there objective truth for everything? Is there the real color of green? Is there a real answer to everything? Or are we just going to keep on searching with our subjective minds and never find it? Think on that. As John Green said, The truth resists simplicity. Alright, after all that philosophical stuff, onto some lighter stuff. I have my first single coming out in 3 weeks, and I'm very excited about it. Please like my Facebook page below, where I'll give you all the details of my single coming out soon, and update you on things that you will only see on my Facebook page. The people that I would like to tag today are a duo called Everything After, and they have their first EP out, which you should definitely check out. They will be tagged as the banjo, since they do a lot of music. So the banjo is going to be Everything After, and you should really check them out. And I'll see you next week. Don't forget to be awesome.